Hi friends, subscribe to my channel, it's not difficult. Title: The Silent Betrayal. I never imagined that one day I'd be packing my bags with a bottle of gin in one hand and divorce papers in the other. Yet here I was, walking out of the house that once echoed with laughter and dreams of a lifetime together. We had a perfect family, or so I thought. I loved my wife, Jessica, more than words could express, and our 7-year-old son, Max, was the center of my universe. We were even trying for a second child, hoping to complete our little family puzzle. But life has a twisted sense of humor. We both worked demanding jobs at a tech company in Seattle. That's where Jessica and I first met, sharing late-night brainstorming sessions and too many cups of bad coffee. We'd often go on business trips together, turning mundane conferences into mini adventures. Those were the days when work felt less like work and more like building a future together. However, as the company expanded, things changed. Budget cuts meant fewer joint trips and more solo missions. We became ships passing in the night, but we cherished the moments we had, always eager for the next reunion. One week, Jessica flew out for a conference in San Francisco. She was gone for 7 days, and during that time, her messages were sparse and her calls even rarer. I chalked it up to her busy schedule. After all, these conferences could be intense. But when she returned, something was off. She seemed distant, her laughter hollow, her eyes avoiding mine. "How was San Francisco?" I asked over dinner. "Productive," she replied curtly, poking at her salad. "Just tired." "Did you get a chance to see the Golden Gate Bridge?" She shrugged. "No time for sightseeing." I let it go, but a nagging feeling settled in my gut. A few weeks later, on a rare day off, I decided to surprise her with lunch at her favorite cafe downtown. I picked up her favorite, turkey avocado on sourdough, and headed over. As I approached the cafe, I saw her through the window laughing. But she wasn't alone. Sitting across from her was Mark, a colleague from another department. They were leaning in close, and before I could process what was happening, they kissed. Time froze. My first instinct was to burst in, flip the table, and demand answers. But instead, I stood there, heart pounding, watching the world I knew crumble. I took out my phone, snapped a photo, and walked away. That night, Jessica came home acting as if nothing had happened. "Hey, honey," she said, planting a quick kiss on my cheek. "How was your day?" "Uneventful," I replied, forcing a smile. "Yours?" Same old," she said, disappearing into the bedroom. I spent the night tossing and turning, my mind racing. The next day, I confided in my best friend, Dave. "You have to confront her," Dave insisted as we sat in a dimly lit bar, glasses of whiskey in front of us. "Maybe it's not what it seems," I muttered, staring into my drink. "Dude, you saw them kissing. Unless they were rehearsing for a play called How to Betray Your Husband, it's exactly what it seems." I chuckled bitterly. "Fair point. Look, man, 2 wrongs don't make a right, but if you want to even the playing field," Dave began, raising an eyebrow. I shook my head. "I'm not going to cheat on her. That's not who I am." "Then what are you going to do?" I took a deep breath. "I'm going to make sure she doesn't get away with this." Over the next few days, I formulated a plan. I gathered all the evidence I could: texts, emails, the photo from the cafe. Then I sent the incriminating photo to her parents and our closest friends with a simple message: "Thought you should know." The fallout was immediate. Jessica came home in tears, fury blazing in her eyes. "How could you?" she screamed, slamming the door behind her. "How could I?" I replied calmly, folding a shirt into my suitcase. "How could you, Jessica, sneaking around with Mark while we're trying to expand our family?" "It's not what you think," she protested. I stopped packing and looked at her. "Really? Because it looks like you're having an affair with Mark." She hesitated, then deflected. "We've been drifting apart. You're always busy and I needed someone to talk to." "Talk? Is that what they're calling it these days?" I scoffed. "Don't be sarcastic," she snapped. I resumed packing. "You know what's ironic? I was packing to take you on a surprise vacation for our anniversary." She looked stunned. You were?" "Yes, but I guess surprises are your department now." "Where are you going?" she asked softly as I zipped up my suitcase. "To stay with Dave for a while. I think we both need some space." "What about Max?" she whispered. I paused. "Max deserves better than this, better than us pretending everything's okay." She started to cry. "Please, let's talk about this." I sighed, the weight of the situation pressing down on me. "Tell me one thing," I said, meeting her gaze. "When we were trying for another child, whose child did you want it to be?" Her eyes widened and she looked away. That was all the answer I needed. I grabbed my suitcase and headed for the door. "Wait," she called after me. "What am I supposed to tell Max?" "The truth," I said without turning around, "or at least your version of it." I walked out, the cold air hitting my face like a slap. I felt a mixture of pain, anger, and oddly enough, relief. Over the next few weeks, we settled into an uneasy arrangement. For Max's sake, we decided not to rush into a divorce. We lived under the same roof but led separate lives, barely speaking unless it was about our son. One evening, as I was helping Max with his homework, he looked up at me with innocent eyes. "Dad, why don't you and Mom eat dinner together anymore?" I forced a smile. "We've just been busy with work, buddy, but we're both here for you." He seemed satisfied with that answer, but I knew we couldn't keep up the facade forever. Meanwhile, Jessica was trying to mend fences. "I'm sorry," she said one night as I was washing dishes. I didn't look at her. "Sorry you got caught or sorry you did it?" She sighed. "I messed up. I know that. But can we at least try to fix this?" I dried my hands and turned to face her. "You broke my trust, Jessica. And trust is like a mirror. Once it's broken, it can't be fixed." She nodded slowly. "I understand." "Do you?" I asked quietly. "Because I'm not sure you do." She bit her lip. "I want to make things right. For us, for Max." I took a deep breath. "Maybe someday we can be friends, but right now I need to focus on our son and myself." She wiped away a tear. "I guess I deserve that." "Look," I said, softening slightly. "We need to figure out how to move forward, especially for Max's sake." "Agree," she whispered. As the months passed, we continued our delicate dance of cohabitation. We both started seeing other people, discreetly at first, but eventually it became an open secret. One afternoon, Max came home from school and announced, "Mom, Dad, I have a surprise." "What's that, champ?" I asked. "I made a family tree for class," he said proudly, holding up a crayon-drawn masterpiece. Jessica and I exchanged awkward glances as we looked at the picture. There we were side by side, holding Max's hands, smiles plastered on our stick-figure faces. That's great, buddy," Jessica said, her voice tinged with sadness. "Yeah, awesome job," I added, ruffling his hair. That night, I realized that our arrangement was only prolonging the inevitable and potentially confusing Max even more. It was time to make a change. I sat down with Jessica at the kitchen table. "We need to talk." She nodded, bracing herself. "I think I know where this is going. For Max's sake, we need to finalize the divorce and figure out a proper co-parenting plan." "I agree," she said softly. "It's not fair to keep him in limbo." We met with lawyers, and surprisingly, the process was amicable. We agreed on joint custody, sold the house, and moved into separate apartments not too far from each other to make transitions easier for Max. On our last night in the house, we sat on the porch after Max had gone to bed. "Remember when we first bought this place?" she mused. "Yeah," I smiled faintly. "We thought we'd grow old here." "Funny how things turn out," she said, looking up at the stars. "Yeah, funny," I echoed. She turned to me. "Do you think we could have done anything differently?" I considered her question. "Maybe, but we can't change the past." "I truly am sorry," she whispered. "I know," I replied, "and I hope you find happiness." "You too," she said, wiping away a tear. We sat in silence for a while, the weight of unspoken words hanging in the cool night air. Reader comments. User 123. "Wow, what an emotional roller coaster. I feel for the guy. Cheating is never justified." Sunny side up. "At least they handled the divorce maturely in the end. Co-parenting is tough, but necessary." Heartbroken. "This hits close to home. Went through something similar. Stay strong, brother. Justice for all." Sending the photo to her parents and friends was savage but deserved. Actions have consequences. Empathy. I appreciate that he didn't stoop to her level by cheating back. Shows real character. Moving to Mike. "Sometimes the best revenge is living well. Hope he finds happiness. Family first. Poor Max. Glad they put his well-being first in the end. Love is lost." Heartbreaking but beautifully written. Thanks for sharing this story.